Before we get started on this week's episode, could you do me a favour and press the follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening to the podcast? It really helps me to develop the show because I use the number of new subscribers and follows that I receive each week to tell how well received an episode has been. Now let's get on with the show.
Vision Graft, a career and resilience companion with Richard William Preisner.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Vision Graft podcast. Thank you to everyone who's been listening to the start of the second season. I was very happy that British Cinematographer wrote a little article on their website about the podcast, and that's available at visiongraft.com. I've linked to it there if anyone's interested in seeing that. On this week's episode, I've got Hannah Lee, who is a great designer. I've worked with her on many occasions for commercial work and corporate work. I've known her since high school, where she used to sit a few desks over from me in maths. So it's been over 20 years, which is weird to say now. But I'm really happy that she's coming on the podcast and being willing to share her experiences with me. It's full of amazing little tidbits and takeaway phrases, which I will be rinsing on my Instagram. It was a really useful conversation for me. I'm sure it will be for you. So without further ado, let's get over to it. I can't actually remember how you and I met because I've obviously known you since we were 11. I mean, it was probably in maths class.
I was going to say maths. I was like, that feels like where I remember you the most from. To the right, very distracting.
Yeah, what, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, just listening to you giving attitude all the time.
I wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I know. After high school, we've obviously collaborated many times over the years, been mates for a while, we've been out partying and done it all. And you've got me on quite a lot of jobs too. And you're now working as a creative designer at TikTok.
I am. Yeah, went full time. I want to say it's a year next month. That's gone so fast.
Yeah, I mean, what does that role entail exactly, like a creative designer?
Yeah, I mean, design can be so many different things. It could be art direction on a shoot or an idea for a campaign. It could be coming up with graphics on how something looks. I suppose in the TikTok realm, I'm not one of the dancers in front of the camera, but I'll be designing the graphics that you see on the platform. Yeah. And yeah, it can be anything. It can literally be anything.
All right. Wow. So a very multifaceted role in terms of like using all your skills, pulling all your skills together for the job as a creative designer.
Many hats. Yes.
Many hats. This is how I like to think of you anyway. So what made you choose to become a designer? Like, how did you begin your career and like, what's the journey been like so far?
So I suppose I have always wanted to do something creative. That's because my grandparents were photographers. My mum was a florist. I always wanted to be like designing something. And whether that was, I don't know, I jumped a bit from being like, I want to be a fashion designer. I want to be an interior designer. I always wanted to do something. I can't draw for shit, straight up admitting that. But I just always wanted to do something creative. And I was laughing about this at the weekend because I was saying like, I literally thought you had to go to uni and do what you did at college. Like, obviously we went to college together as well. But yeah, I just thought you literally had to go and do the same thing. So I was like, cool, graphics. I'm going to go do graphics at uni. I was never as passionate as the people on my course. Maybe I was, but in my own way. And yeah, just fell into it. I've got a lot of people to thank who like obviously gave me the opportunity to be a junior in their agencies and stuff. And that's probably just what helped. And then the more I enjoyed it, I thought, actually, yeah, I can do this. And then believed in myself a bit more. And yeah, that's what, here I am.
Oh, I see. So it's kind of like it naturally evolved that you kind of became a designer. It wasn't something that you sort of set out to do from a young age or anything.
Yeah, no, I've always just been a bit arty, always done something like that. And then, yeah, I mean, I didn't even know what a graphic designer was at college when you're doing the course, you know, you're just making collages and stuff. But yeah, it just kind of evolves and you learn like, you know, a graphic designer is totally different from someone who's doing like a magazine versus someone who's working on like advertising campaigns or even like social media and stuff like that. So yeah, I've touched it all a bit, but yeah, it's good.
So when you left uni and you first started, were you working full time or were you freelance?
So the minute I left uni, I think I did 6 months, like, I don't know, serving coffees in Starbucks, like making my portfolio look as the best as it could be. And then, yeah, I just decided to come down to London, go to a few interviews. And yeah, I got straight into a junior role, like full time. it was actually really cool. It was like an island in Twickenham. I met some like really cool people who obviously trained me. I'm still instilled with like some of the stuff they taught me now, like don't be messy and that kind of stuff. So I predominantly worked in like at the island, let's say the city it was called, at Eel Pie Island, predominantly did kind of like graduate recruitment, very like corporate based stuff. So like when I decided, I've got this thing where like, if I'm not learning anything new, it's time to go. Obviously like they can't pay you the wage you want, or I'd done like a standard, 2.5, 3 years. You think, I need to find something else. And I wanted to go to this big shiny place called Shoreditch where all the cool designers were. And yeah, no, I ended up getting I went for a few interviews and I ended up at another social media agency who at first thought I was too corporate for the role. And then I was like, well, you don't know unless you give me the chance. And then I remember spending like all weekend on like a pitch deck of like, they gave me an example brief and I was like, I'm going to smash this just to get this job. And then, yeah, I got that. So I did 3 years there. And then same again, decided I think I want to go freelance. Yeah. So then I've just freelance. I think I did 6-7 years freelance. And then, yeah, back to perm now just for a change.
We talked the other day about this, but I think that's like obviously a really interesting thing to focus on to start with, is that decision that you've made kind of at this point in your career, which is definitely not the beginning anymore. It's like the mid, to go from being freelance to permanent again. And I'm just sort of wondering what made you choose to do that and what have the positives or negatives been?
I don't know, like freelance was great and I earned a lot of money. I was quite fortunate. I didn't need recruiters a lot. So like a lot of stuff was word of mouth. And yeah, I just kind of like bounced around different agencies, or friends moved on to other jobs and thought, you know what, I know a good designer. Hannah, do you want to do the brief? And I think it just got to a point where like I went traveling. I was so fortunate I had some agencies passing me some briefs. And yeah, that funded basically like almost 2 years. Came back because of the pandemic. And like, fortunately, I know not a lot of people did, but I had a really good lockdown. Like I did well. I worked on some great briefs, made a good amount of money. And then I just got contacted about a freelance role at TikTok. And I thought, do you know what, I'll give it a go. And it was that thing where like I liked, again, same again, if I'm not learning anything, I want to try something new or just challenge myself. And I saw this as like a huge challenge. Like it's an app you don't know. It's like you said, what do you design there? Everyone thinks it's just, you know, an app. I just really fancied a change. And also, I suppose the negatives was I got stuck in a bit of a hole with certain clients where I'm a people pleaser. And I suppose as women, we naturally want to be people pleasers. And I would like work myself into the ground. And then I think it took lockdown for me to really realize, like, look, take a step back. It's not a step down. It's a new challenge and I want to try something new. And you know what, if you don't like it, you know, the people that recommended me before are still going to be there. There's always going to be work. It's not a bad thing. But no, I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it. And I thought, yeah, there's this kind of misconception that like going perm, even when I said it to you, and now I'm perm, it makes it sound bad, but it's not. Like, and
yeah, because I suppose it's like the opposite of what the usual trajectory is. So it's like why people would think that, but it's not necessarily the case. Like people do things for different reasons. Like you're saying, it's a challenge that you wanted and you wanted a new challenge. I completely understand that. There's no set way that people should do things, I suppose. I freelanced straight out of uni, which was like financial suicide. But a good time to do it where I didn't really need much money. That's the way I look at it now. But yeah, like I think that's kind of why it has intrigued me. I've not really had an opinion on it because there's not really perming in what I do. But it's intrigued me that you've chosen to do that. And I mean, also like it's affected the structure of your life too, hasn't it? Like you've got more respectable hours and predictable hours.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I mean, I'll definitely still, you know, if I like to get the job done and I like to kind of make it perfect. So I'm not afraid of a late night or a weekend or a long shoot, in fact. But yeah, definitely there's more structure now. It was more me being freelance was I love my job and I love what I do, but not necessarily some of the jobs that I was working on. Mm-hmm. So again, this like natural people pleaser comes into play and you don't want to let anyone down. So you will say yes to jobs that you necessarily don't want to do. And then because you're kind of getting this income where you're like, oh my God, great, you know, I can buy that. You fall into this like weird trap. And there is definitely like, I've just learned so many things, like rest isn't a bad thing, you know, and I definitely think like mental health wise, I'm in such a better place than when I was freelance. Definitely.
Is that because of that trap that you were talking about? Is it like an overwork trap?
Yeah, burnout is such a glorified thing. Like, it's just so easy to become burnt out and quite resentful at the same time. So some people see burnout as being like this like tick, you know, yes, I've worked hard, I've achieved that. Whereas I was literally getting to the point where I was so tired and just happily answering emails and texts at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, saying yes to doing stuff at weekends, when really like you need your time. You know, you're on a hard brief. You need to just step away from stuff to realize actually it could be better that way, rather than just kind of sit hammering at one brief.
Having the break away to think about it and clear your mind.
Definitely. And I think also just working in different like agencies in Australia, I just feel like had that so much better like work-life balance that I kind of saw that when I came back. I thought that's how I want to be.
I suppose they've got the sun to try and drag them outside as well.
Leaving work and lying on the beach is the best thing ever. It just makes you feel better and you want to go and explore. I mean, I was quite fortunate. I've got a lot of like other creative friends out there as well. So, you know, I still had those. I mean, I know I rang you for like long phone calls, but I have other people that I can like bounce ideas off and like, what do you think about this? And I was still, when I was working in Australia, I was still answering briefs and doing work for the UK. So I find that was a sign where I was like, Hannah, you need to stop. You know, you're doing this like full day in Australia. And then I was like working in the evenings, like designing some windows for Liberty. And I was like, oh, this needs to be perfect, you know? And yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds intense. An easy trap to fall into, I suppose, if you don't want to like let go of your UK clients once you've gone to the opposite side of the world.
Yeah, and I don't want people to think, you know, oh, she just took the easy way out. You know, she didn't like freelance life, she's gone perm. But it was more for me. It needed to be done to tell myself to stop trying to please everyone.
I suppose if you freelance again in future, it might set you up mentally to be doing it in a kind of healthier way.
Definitely, but I don't like I don't want to be the accountant. I don't want to be the project manager, the producer, the director. I just think sometimes the higher you get, the less creative you become. And I like being that person that's like, you know, roll your sleeves up, get the work done.
What, doing the creative work?
Yeah, doing the creative work, yeah.
I remember when you talk about us calling each other for epic phone calls, I remember once during lockdown, when I think I was having a career meltdown, and I was calling to speak to you for your wisdom. I discussed a few ideas that I was having, and I was concerned that introducing new kind of pathways in my career, I think maybe this podcast and other things, would be me running the risk of becoming a jack of all trades. But then you enlightened me to the full version of that phrase, which is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one, which I didn't know that like second half of that.
Not many people do.
Yeah. And you kind of justified my choices to kind of diversify a bit by kind of informing me that you've kind of taken a multidisciplined approach in your career. And that's kind of what helped to benefit you in your current job role or get you your current job role. Can you kind of explain to me like how that kind of varied experience that you've got kind of served to benefit the role that you're doing now and your career in general? Because obviously, like you say, you've worked in sort of different aspects of creative industries as well, like different elements of it.
Yeah, I think it was quickly applied. Like when I was a junior, it was very much like we were working with corporate clients on graduate recruitment, and you had to do everything from like ideas on their social media to their brochures, so print work, and then like website design. So like I had to apply and had to learn how stuff works. So yeah, just basically different formats and treatments and stuff. I really liked that. That it stems back to uni where, you know, graphics, like as a course, was split into graphics and digital. And I was like, why can't I be in that group? So I made it a point to be like, I need to learn both. I want to learn both. So yeah, then different jobs. Like I've gone into different. I've even gone into like experiential. I work with like an amazing packaging client. I work on some like really nice like, perfume packaging. I love it. Like there's something nice about waking up every day and like a brief is different. And I haven't lost that going perm either. That's, we work on different clients on every day. For me, that's what keeps it exciting, is there's something different all the time. You've got to enjoy it. And like the other day when we were on the phone and you were like chatting about a new brief and you were like, oh, if I've got the time, in between a podcast and this and that, and you can do it all. Like, yeah, you can do anything you put your mind to. That's something I firmly believe in.
Well, yeah, you've actually just brought up there that Hannah and I are going to be working on new kind of creative briefs together that I've like thrown at her. And you've already like helped to give me ideas that are sort of like around the whole project outside of the specific thing I asked for your help on. So that's great. And I'm feeling the benefit of all of the varied experience that you've got, even to do with like events and things like that. So yeah, I'm excited to chat more about that. Can you tell me about the biggest hurdle that you've faced in your career so far and what you've done to manage this?
There's probably a few things. Definitely your self-saboteur, telling yourself you can't do stuff, you're not going to be as good as other people in your role. If you've been a designer for X amount of years, then you suddenly compare yourself to someone else. But then, like we've chatted before, is like you can bring so much more to the plate than other people sometimes. Like, yeah, everyone's got their own journey. So definitely being negative. I think just working so much and like never taking time off myself. It's just, yeah, you just run yourself into the ground. And like, I know everyone, if you're looking at my Instagram, I look like I'm on holiday all the time. I think I've had one holiday where I didn't take my laptop. So that says a lot. Instagram's not always what it looks. But yeah, there's, yeah, I think it's that like not ever taking a break and not knowing whether to charge enough for yourself. Yeah, they're kind of hurdles that you need to kind of try, and you're never going to learn it all. But that's definitely something that stopped me from getting to places.
So not having, giving yourself enough breaks, for example, have you done anything to kind of work on that now? Is like going permanent, for example, is that something that you think has been part of trying to deal with that?
Yeah, I think learning to say no isn't a bad thing. I think in the past, you just want everyone to love you and everyone to like you, and you'll say yes to every single brief. Whereas I've soon learned that like not everyone's going to like you, and it doesn't matter. You're not there to please everyone. And I just started by saying no to briefs that I didn't want to work on. Then I just found something that I was really passionate about and just started like even just going to a gym class. I just think like that's the amount of time where you need to step away. That's my time where I'm not in front of a screen, and looking at different things that like you can cut away from. I think I'm explaining this well. But yeah, I think going perm and having the structure of 9 till 6 or whatever is definitely helped. And they're like huge on making sure you're okay and, take a walk-in meeting and really big on encouraging that. Whereas me being my own boss, I'd be like, you don't need lunch, carry on. Or yeah.
I can associate with that.
I mean, we just said then, have you eaten? No.
Yeah. It's. I thought it was interesting as well what you're saying about, saying no. That's something that I, last couple of years, have really been trying to kind of like help use as a tool to guide my career choices. And how do you find like starting to say no to certain things has helped you?
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult because, it doesn't mean you don't like the person that's giving the brief. It's just you're too busy. I mean, there's been times where you've asked me to do something and I'm like, Will, I'm so sorry, I can't. Like, I'm so like deep in a brief. But then I know I should just realise that when you're really understanding and you're like, it's fine, I understand, that everyone else will be like that. Unfortunately, not everyone is like that, but it all works out, right? Like if you say no to something that you don't really want to work on, suddenly something that you're quite passionate about just turns up, or like it allows other doors to open. Whereas if you just said yes to everything, particularly in, a format that you don't like working on or working in, then you realise, oh, that was always there waiting for me,
I couldn't agree more. Like the minute you start saying no to stuff, it's like the things that you want to happen seem more likely to happen because you're not distracted by doing the things you don't want to do. Like you've got more time to like put yourself out there to try and do the stuff that you want to do and pursue the stuff you want to pursue. And that's the other thing as well. Like I try and see it now, like time's not infinite, is it? It's like we've only got so much time and we need to make sure we're focusing doing the stuff we want to do. So whilst I'm saying yes to everything, I'm like killing all the time, not carving my career as to what I want it to be. I'm sort of losing time in my career. Like it's like I have to like double back and start again. That's how I felt a bit in the last few years. Like I'm definitely taking a leaf out of your book on that, like just a more structured approach by saying no to certain things. But it's super hard, like you say. It's
definitely like we as freelancers would always, well, you know, you'd work 24 hours a day if you you know, your body and your mind allowed you.
It's easier when you're younger.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I remember like there's times I've literally been sat at my desk and like Matt had come in at like 3 a.m. He's like, you're still going? I'm like, yeah, it really needs to get done, you know? And I think, yeah, just saying no to stuff where you just have to realize what's important to you and what's going to help you grow. And even just saying no to something, then going and doing a course on something new, like that gave me the time. Like, yeah, time and rest isn't earned. You give yourself that to help you improve. So that allowed me to go on courses and learn new things.
He's also saying as well about rates and negotiating rates being a hurdle. Can definitely associate with that one. Like, how did you kind of manage to deal with that hurdle?
So first going freelance, like, you know, you meet a couple of recruiters and you're like, what do I need to charge for myself? And they'll obviously tell you, top tip, recruiters will tell you less because they're putting a massive cut on top. But yeah, they would kind of tell you a ballpoint figure of what to work on. And it actually took a while, like probably 2-3 years. And I had a really good friend, still a good friend, but she was actually my MD at the time. And she said, put your rates up, you know, like you're worth way more than this. And I think it just took the honesty of someone to say, you're worth more, charge more. You're always going to have clients where, yeah, they start to tell you, oh, it's only going to take 2 hours. And you're like, I charge half a day minimum. I mean, I know friends who charge like a day and it could be 2 hours worth of work. I couldn't do that. I'm too honest. I'm literally too honest for my own good. If it's 2 hours, I'll be like, don't worry about it. Like, you know, I'll add it onto something else.
It takes you years to learn to be able to do it in 2 hours. And without those years, it would have taken you longer. So you can justify charging more for it. I mean, I do that now because it's like, I know this would have taken more time a while ago. Just because I work faster because I'm better and more experienced doesn't mean I should be penalized for that, you know, and have to do more work in order to earn more money like that. I suppose it shouldn't work like that. But the thing that I found when you're saying about rates is it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. And I've done some experiments with it. And, you know, sometimes I've been frustrated about like, you know, I want to do certain kinds of jobs which pay you more. So I've trialed putting my rates up to see if that increases the chances of me getting, you know, try the other way around as opposed to like get the job and I get offered more money or something, like charge more and see if that gets me the better job. And I've found that by doing that, actually, it has helped me progress in my career. Like I think there's an element of with clients, at least when I'm dealing with them, they want to know that you've got experience and you can do the job and whatever. And there's nothing tells them more about that than about your abilities, I suppose, and if you can confidently charge an amount that a professional person should be charging. And I think often in the past, I was like poo-pooed for jobs because I was being the cheaper one, thinking that was a good thing, but actually it was a bad thing because all they had to go off was really a 30-second look at my show reel, and the rest was how much am I charging. So it's like if my show reel looks sort of similar to another guy's, you'd think like, oh, we'd go with the cheap one, but I think they'd actually go with the more expensive person because they think they get something else out of that. And at the end of the day, it's often the client, it's not their personal money, is it? They're usually just in charge of the company's money, and they want to like get the best quality work for the budget that they've got.
Definitely. And I think that's where this kind of like power of saying no comes in, because I charged a certain amount and then over time this confidence came where like, you know, I am good at my job. Yes, I'm really quick at what I do. And then I was like, cool, I will increase my rates, not to fit more into a day, just because I know what I'm giving you is like a good quality and like knowing my worth and the standard. But then that's when you get these other people who will come back to you and be like, it'll only take you half a day or it'll only take you this time. And that's when you say, well, no, actually, because it's when someone goes, oh, it's only a 5-minute job. And you're like, it's going to take me 5 minutes to find the file from an old job. And like, I don't know, it's this, you've got to be confident and be like, absolutely not.
Competition time. If you're enjoying the conversation, please can you do me a favour and leave me a review on Apple Podcasts? It's super easy to do, and if you let me know you've left a review using the Get in Touch page on visiongraft.com or by sending me a message on the Vision and Graft Instagram at Vision Graft, you'll be automatically entered for free into one of the monthly draws to win a Roscoe Mixbook digital swatch book. This very useful tool enables you to pre-visualize colored gels and LED colors, and they're really useful for those working in film, photography, or lighting design to plan which colors they could use in their lighting. I use mine all the time in my planning, and I couldn't be without it. Spread the word if any of your mates would be interested in getting their hands on one. The competition is free to enter. If you really want a mix book and you'd like to increase your chances, if you repost any of my posts on the Vision and Graft Instagram to your story, I will add an extra entry into the competition for you if you let me know that you've done that. The last date for entry is midnight the 31st of August 2022, and I'll contact the winner directly to arrange their new mixbook delivery. The competition is only available to residents of the UK, EU, USA and Canada, but if you'd still like to leave me a review if you're outside of those areas, I will very much appreciate that. Full terms and conditions are available at visiongraft.com. Good luck with the competition. Now back to the show. What do you see yourself as kind of driving towards?
I don't think I have this ultimate end goal. I always want to be learning stuff. I always want to, financially, that's one of the main things that drives me. I like nice things. I like great holidays, and unfortunately, you have to work really hard to get that. I don't know what my end goal is or what I want to do. I've never ever seen, I have seen a handful of female creative directors. And I mentioned earlier that I feel like sometimes, I don't know, the more managerial you get in roles. I mean, I've definitely been a creative director myself, freelancing, and I've even gone in to cover some before. But I just think, I've only seen a handful of female creative directors, and I just think now more than ever, you should see more female creative directors or females in powerful roles, or I don't know, women with kids in a design agency. It's so rare. You just don't, I've just rarely got, maybe there's a fantastic agency out there somewhere that's for women by women, but there's no real end goal. As long as I'm happy and learning new stuff, I think that for me makes me complete, and spending time with people that matter most. Because I know for a fact, traveling and working, I sacrificed so much. Obviously Matt was traveling with me. He loved it, floated off in the sea somewhere, I just left him. But then I had friends that flew halfway around the world to spend time with me. And I was sat in front of my laptop. And I think there was just little switches where I was like, you need to put certain priorities first. And we've had conversations about, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to do this? And it's not goals I want to set right now. As long as I'm happy doing what I do and I'm enjoying it, that's what matters to me.
Yeah. It strikes me that it's a little less materialistic.
I mean, I like the finer things, I'm not going to lie. But it's, as long as I can work hard and do that, then I'm not going to burn myself out again to get what I want.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both made decisions in our careers that have helped to facilitate the experience at the time being what we want it to be, where we probably could have made the decision for money at other times, but didn't, because we wanted to live our lives to a certain extent. And I look back at the decisions I've made the last 10 years and I'm like, I'm not full of regret, because I could have done things that earn me more money. I could have not freelanced straight out of uni. I could have done many things, and not worked in the film industry to start with. But I've gone with the passion instead of the simple options and the things that were be easier to follow. I mean, I was getting this straight out of high school, people trying to persuade me to do apprenticeships and stuff like this, which would have just straight be driving a BMW and have a house by now if I'd gone down that route. But it's it wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't what was going to bring me happiness. And I think I would have been the sort of person that I am. I would have been deeply kind of sad if I'd taken those routes. I want the challenge,
I remember saying to my dad, I'm going to go traveling and I'm going to keep my UK clients and I'm going to do this. And his first thing, I don't know if it was whether he was just going to miss me, he was like, what's your 5-year plan? And for me, that's I can't, what? I haven't got one. There's some people who really genuinely have stuff planned. I met a girl at uni who was like, I'm going to be married by this age, have a kid, buy a house, and then I'll just, be a resource manager in a design agency. And I was like, okay. And then I've always just had this drive to do more. We can admit there's people at school where, their goal was to leave school, get a house, or like sign on for a house if that's what they really want to do, and it was just, we were like, I just want to leave. Like, I just want to get out and see the bigger world than Berry.
Yeah, I mean, no, obviously no insults, Berry.
No insults, Berry, we love you.
Well, I was looking at your LinkedIn earlier, and your bio says that you're interested in self-improvement. And like you discussed recently with me that you've been focusing on like confidence and like developing that. What drew you to choose to kind of like work on confidence? Because personally, I've always seen you as someone who is quite confident from my position.
Yeah, I'm not.
No, it's just interesting to me is like, what is it that's kind of drawn you to focus specifically on your confidence?
I think I'm a bugger for like explaining something and at the end being like, does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? And then I found the more, especially like freelance, you have to believe in yourself and present things more. And I just couldn't. Like, I'm terrible. I say all the time. Like, I'll be looking at a Zoom full of like, God, sometimes there's like over 1,000 people on a call and you've got to like just pick one person. Like now I'm just looking at you. I'm not even looking at myself, but you've just got to pick that one person and say everything. And everything just tenses. And I'm like, I can't talk. I don't know what I'm going to say. So it was really nice. One of the agencies I worked at, they all gave us gravitas books, and I'm really bad. I can't remember the lady who wrote it. I'll look it up. But we had these gravitas books, and then she came in and did a course for us, and it was great. And it was all about the power of the pause, and you just have to breathe. And it was just certain things and like certain steps, and it was great. Did I implement it? No. So then more jobs I went into, and it just got worse and worse, and I can't present. I just can't. I know I'm good at what I do. I just prefer when there's someone else being like leading it. But now, yeah, I'm doing a confidence workshop at the moment, and I had to like write all this. Even for tonight, I had set myself a task to be like, what are the 3 negatives that you're scared of doing this podcast? And then I had to write positives for it. And I was reeling them off, telling them Matt on Saturday. And he was like, I don't know why. He was like, this is true. He actually said, but you and Will would understand more than anyone. Like if you said, I can talk a glass eye to sleep, it's true. Like I can talk and talk forever. But yeah, it's the confidence in presenting my own work I just wanted to improve on that and just believing in myself more.
Because you've got the skills to communicate. It's just marrying that like belief with the communication skills in order to kind of like lay it down at the time you need to.
Yeah, you could look at my LinkedIn and think, oh my God, amazing. Like she's worked for like these agencies, she's done this, she's done that, and she's won awards and she's done this. And it's like, on paper, it looks great. But then I cannot, if you ask me to sit here and tell you now, like, tell me everything you've done, I'll downplay it so much. Like, I'm just not confident to be like, yeah, I did this, or yeah, I need to work on that a bit more.
Well, I'm supporting you in that as your friend. I believe in you, Hannah. And yeah, I hope that journey continues well.
Well, you're always on the end of the phone when I don't think I can do something. I ring you and I think, well, what do you think about this? And you're like, you're so successful, you're so confident. I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, thanks.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm here to cheerlead, defo. And I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it either. And I think that's important. I mean, that's definitely something that I think is super important, is telling my friends when I believe in them, like make sure that they know that, because I think that's like one of the nicest things that I can do as someone's mate, like sharing that love. Like if I think that someone's amazing, then I want to like make sure they know that I think they're amazing. Well, why should I keep that information to myself?
Yeah, no, you do. You have to support your friends through it. And even like some things it's not until someone else points something out to you, you're like, oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah, it's like it helps you take a step back and actually like look at it for a second instead of just charging forward onto the next thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you find being creative helps you when dealing with life's challenges, kind of both in your career and personally?
I mean, I don't take life too seriously, if I'm honest. I guess I've just always been creative, and it's wanting to learn new things, or if I don't understand something, I'll just go off and teach myself how to do it. Or if I like want to brief someone on something and I don't fully understand it, I'll sit and read about it. I suppose this is still more like the work sense, isn't it? But yeah, I've like, I don't know, built stuff at home, like taught myself how to build things. I don't know. Breaking stuff down into small segments, I suppose. If I need to learn something new, it's like the way you would dissect a brief, you would kind of dissect any situation, being like, there's just one end goal, but how do we apply that, like in little steps?
Interesting. So what is the best advice you've ever received?
You can be anything you want to be as long as you put your mind to it. And I know that sounds a bit woo, but it's true. Like, yeah, you can learn anything you want as long as you dedicate the time and have the drive to do it. Yeah, when my old MD Frankie said to me, you know, put your rates up, you matter more than your work kind of thing. I suppose that's when it really hit. That was a good, like, hitting moment. And yeah, they need you more than you need them. Like, they're all little sayings. Like, I love a saying. But yeah, they're all little sayings that stick with you, and you think, yeah, that they're really good bits of advice.
Sort of relating to self-worth as well, I suppose. Like, they sort of all link somewhat to that.
Yeah, and I'm so fortunate. I've worked in like so many places and met so many nice people. Like, a lot of my friends, like close friends now, like, I mean, my circle's quite small, but some of my closest friends are like people I've met along the way, and we would have just sat next to each other. Like my friend Mark in Australia, like we just sat next to each other one day in a job. All of a sudden, like we just speak all the time, encourage each other, big each other up, bounce work off each other. Like, I'm just fortunate I've met really nice and encouraging people along the way.
Yeah, and it's helped to kind of like boost you as you've gone.
Yeah, I mean, you don't absorb it all. Definitely no one like absorbs everything someone tells you, but yeah, it's nice to have like a really good community around you that believe in you as you should believe in yourself, if that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Do you see them as like figures of inspiration as well?
Definitely. I mean, some of my friends, I think, oh my God, I'm nowhere near as good as you. But then you need to realize, like, well, you are in your own way, and like you bring things into their life that they bring to yours. I think that's making sense. But there's certain people I know that I can literally ring with any form of question, and there's just an ear on the other end, like listening to you. Or like, Hannah, get a grip, stop crying, you know?
I wouldn't say that.
Oh gosh, she's crying again. Yeah, no, but yeah, I'm just fortunate. I've had some really great jobs where, yeah, I've met some good people along the way, and advice, there's tons of it. I just can't remember it all.
It's usually the best place for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got a final question for you. This is definitely a curveball. What gives you hope?
I thought you were going to ask me, what is success to you? Because I've been listening to all your podcasts. So I was like, damn it, I'm ready for this one. What gives me hope? It is a curveball. The ability to fail, to learn your mistake, to carry on. So like always allowing yourself to fail, to learn from mistakes. Like, you can't get everything right. You can't get everything right, and not everyone's going to like you. And then there's this kind of like, it will always get better, you know? Or if something's bad, it's the worst it'll ever be, you know? There's that kind of, I have little mini mantras, but yeah, that's like, well, I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no set answer, so it's like, it's intriguing to hear how different people answer this.
I'll hang up and I'll be like, damn it, that was it. And then I'll ring you back and be like, add this in.
Well, no, I mean, it's good to have the little mantras that keep you going, especially when it's like in your arsenal at the point where it's like stuff's really tough.
Yeah, I think doing stuff as well that like scares you is really important. Like, that challenge yourself, or do something that scares you. And I'd like said this right back in the beginning, just being like, if I'm not learning anything new, I'm bored. That tells me to move on or leave a job or teach yourself something, learn how to do that. Yeah, and it's that self-saboteur that's like, oh, I'm not good enough. And then if I'd told Hannah back in maths class next to Will, being like, you would have done this, you would work here, you would have won that.
You'd be blowing the tiny teenage minds about the stuff that you've done. But now you look at yourself and you think, you can always do better. There's always more. And I suppose it's good to try and take
it, right?
Yeah, it's good to try and take a step back sometimes and like imagine yourself as that teenage self and be like, I can be proud of myself. I've done some pretty cool things, or I've achieved some stuff, and I know my tiny teenage version of me would be impressed at some of this stuff. So it's just like helps to ground you a little bit, doesn't it?
Definitely, because you always think it's not enough. I need to do more. I've got to learn this, I've got to learn that, which I tell myself all the time. But yeah, there's this kind of, if I was me again, going out drinking on a Friday night, telling myself, you'll be working yourself into the ground, but it'll be so rewarding. Like, you would have done all of this. And then, it's worth it. We've come far.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And
thank you.
I'm excited to get this one out for sure. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's no problem. Hopefully I can have you again in future. We can have like updates, career updates.
Definitely. And new projects. Everyone gets to find out what we're working on.
Yeah, new projects. That's an important thing. More will be revealed in time. But yeah, it's exciting to work with you again, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Hannah.
No worries. Take care.
Find us online at visiongraft.com. And for updates, follow Will on Instagram @visiongraft.